Boilermakers take the field for this intrastate rivalry at Notre Dame on a rainy afternoon in South Bend. Purdue coached by Jim Coletto, who twice played here at Notre Dame Stadium as a member of the UCLA team. Leading his Irish through the tunnel. Returning to Notre Dame Stadium for the first time since he heard blues after the tie game with Michigan. Purdue a sizable underdog in this game, but the Boilermakers have had some memorable victories over Notre Dame through the years. They have been spoiler makers on more than one occasion. And as a matter of fact, they have more wins here at Notre Dame Stadium than any other Irish opponent. Now, Chris, these two offenses are among the most high-powered in all of college football. Is this going to be one of those games that goes up and down the field?
I hope so, Tom. That's the kind of football I really like to watch. Two great offenses, two more or less mediocre kind of defenses. But we did learn one thing about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish defense. This week, they expect a blitz for the first time. Almost incredibly, they have not run a single blitz to this point in the season. I've never heard of that for a Division I college football team, but today they expect to go after the quarterback.
Well, as we said, it's been raining all day here. There was a tarp covering the field until about an hour and a half ago. It could be slippery today. Will that affect the way the game is played?
Well, everybody thinks that you can't throw the ball in those kind of conditions. I think it's easier to throw the football. Those offensive linemen have an awfully tough time trying to come off and move the defensive line of Michigan. So I expect to see the football in the air today.
Or the defensive line of Purdue.
Purdue, I'm sorry.
Well, much of the speculation about Purdue has been which Boilermaker team will show up. The team that upset California or the team that was upset by Toledo. John Dockery has been tracking the pregame preparations of the Boilermakers. Doc, what have you found out?
Let me tell you this, Tom. I can tell you that Coach Jim Coletto will not allow the flat Purdue team to show up here today. They've been wired all week long. As his son said on their practice in Lafayette earlier this week on Thursday night, he gathered the team together and he said, hey, guys, let me tell you something. You will be tested, each and every one of you. Notre Dame will come out, they'll knock you on your butts, and then they'll step on your throats. So you better be ready. You will be ready. He then went on to say, hey, you can play with these guys, but you have to want to. You have to believe you can. So, hey, Purdue is wired, Tom. Question is, can they play with this talented Irish team?
Well, we talked about the wins by Purdue here at Notre Dame Stadium, and indeed they have one more than any other team that has played here, including the storied Trojans of USC. 9 Purdue wins here at Notre Dame Stadium. Purdue won the toss. They have deferred to the second half, so Notre Dame will receive the opening kickoff. Last year, even though the Irish pulled away at the end to a 45-20 win in West Lafayette, the game was close. It was 7-7 with a minute 40 to go in the first half.
He thinks his football team can win here today. He said that, I know they have all the All-Americans on their team, but believe me, my ball club is fired up, ready to play. I fully expect us to be very competitive.
Michigan State. They have a visualization session every Friday night before the game. The lights are turned out and Coach DuBose asks each player to visualize, being in the locker room, visualize the opening play. And after the session last week, he asked Rick Meyer, his quarterback, and some of the other players, what play did you visualize? He said 53 pass. And lo and behold, that's the play Holtz called. Let's see what he does on the first play of the game here. Dawson Brooks, a potent rushing tandem. Dawson, the leading receiver. Todd Norman returns to that right guard spot. Handoff to the 45-yard line. He rips off about 5 yards. Here's the way the Boilermakers started the game on defense. See their front seven. Scanina, that's how you pronounce his name, the defensive tackle number 40. He's a force up front. He's a Lombardi and Outland Award candidate. He leads the team in tackles. You see the secondary, Jimmy Young, all Big Ten a year ago, rated one of the best quarterbacks in America. There's Scanina, his player in the Notre Dame and the Purdue defense against that potent Notre Dame offense today. And that blitz slipped and then was banged to the turf with a tackle made by Eric. He had 37 coming into the game, tops of the Boilermaker team.
And I had a chance to talk with Reggie Brooks just before the ball game. I asked him about the footing. He said it's a little slippery out here. I saw on the very first play of the game, Jimmy Young, the outstanding quarterback of Purdue, fall down as well. So we may well see some problems with the footing here this afternoon.
This field, which is blue grass, has a very good the lone side back, to the left. Meyer, there's that way with a screen to Bettis. Markers in front. Bettis has room. Incoming territory.
Yeah, that's really a nice call by Lou Holtz. They're concerned about Jeff Scanina and his great pass rush. You'll see him coming through, getting after Rick Meyer. They just dump off a screen pass, and Jerome Bettis has a lot of room to operate down the sideline.
First down, Notre Dame at the Purdue 28, opening drive of the game. Meyer with a pitch to right. Jerome lowers his head, bangs inside the 25 down to the 24-yard line. Let's go down to the sideline now to John Dockery.
You know, Tom, I checked on the footing before the game. There were a fair amount of guys slipping. As you mentioned, it has been raining for about an hour. The tarp was on, and it has that thin film of rain on top of the grass. So there was some slippage, but interesting. Neither team has gone to any kind of change in terms of their cleats. They're just going with their normal stuff. Back to you, Tom.
Well, you see some of the high tops the players are wearing. Brooks is close to the 15-yard line before he is wrestled to the grass. The only slip we've seen so far has been that initial one. So far, the footing looks pretty good.
Take a look at what they're doing to the defensive line. Jeff Scanina, number 40, he's the All-American candidate, and you better believe they'll be double-teaming him all afternoon long. They have just been blowing Purdue off the football so far. No need to throw it whatsoever.
Scanina was originally a nose tackle, but moved outside to prevent the double teams. He's still getting it today. 7 points for Notre Dame. They got a first down at the 16. A couple of tacklers and advances to about the 12-yard line.
Well, I talked on the open about how difficult it was sometimes for the offensive line to get their footing.
Meany and Conley made the tackle.
Anyone else out there? You know, John talked about the changing of the cleats. Most players use about a 1/4 inch cleat on the bottom of their shoes. There are 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch, but a lot of times you're taking chances if you get your foot planted in the grass that you may end up turning an ankle or a knee. Brooks at 2 tight ends in this formation. Another Notre Dame first down. You can see they're not that afraid of Jeff Scanina. They're going right after him. He really pursued right out of the play. He's trying to make something happen. That time they ran right at him, and Jeff Scanina ran away from him.
Scanina having a tough series on defense as the Irish have first and goal. 9th play of the drive. 7 of the previous 8 plays have been on the ground.
14.
done anything differently whatsoever. They have run this play now about 4 or 5 times in a row. They've just found a soft spot in the Purdue defense.
Jerome Bettis carries in for the touchdown, his 3rd touchdown of the season. He scored a Notre Dame record 3 season ago. And Hendrick with a point after makes it good. A 7-0 Notre Dame lead after they drive 76 yards. Notre Dame All-American Jerome Bettis opens the scoring.
Tom, it's been basically the same play time after time. They've been running right at Jeff Skanina, just blocking down, pulling the guard around, and Bettis been running right through the hole. They've done it time after time after time. And we're trying to get this out of here. There we go. We smashed it down a little bit. Apologize for that.
Just when I was about to pronounce you at least the prince of the telestrate.
Banged it as hard as I could on the screen to try to erase it.
Hendrick with a kickoff and an unusual formation by the Irish. You lined up single fire on a couple of lines. Taken by Jermaine Ross. Purdue's Ross is smacked to the turf, short of the 15-yard line. Great coverage by the Irish with Nick Smith, the senior from Cincinnati.
Jermaine Ross on the return.
Down with authority.
Hit by Nick Smith.
Now the Purdue offense trying to answer the Notre Dame drive, led by Matt Pike, whose offense is averaging 31 points a game in his starts. Here are the backs and receivers for Purdue. Hill working on a string of 4 straight 100-yard rushing games. Callaway, the top receiver. There's that offensive line, a typical Big Ten offensive line, good size. Notre Dame defensive starting unit. It's been a disappointment so far. Front 7 for the Irish. McDonald leads the team in sacks. Peterson tied for the lead in tackles. All-American DuBose playing his 2nd game after serving that NCAA suspension. In the secondary, Burris shares top tackler honors and Carter to this tight end. Second down play for the up after a yard or so. It'll be 3rd and long for McDonald.
Jeff Hill is really a one-man show as far as the offense of Purdue. He was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week after rushing for 106 yards in that upset win against California last season. Rushed for 678 yards, the most by a Purdue back since 1983.
Matt Pike is hitting 50% of his passes, as you see Jeff Hill also is dangerous receiving the ball. He's the 2nd leading receiver on the team. Steps in the pocket and delivers, and then it's dropped. Wide open was Houston Malden, the fullback. He was wide open for a Purdue first down. It just bounced off his head.
And Tom, you see Houston Malden rubbing his hands together. I like to play with those gloves as well, but in a wet ball game, those gloves become very slimy. Houston Malden should take those gloves off. They don't work in the rain.
They didn't work that time for Malden. The redshirt sophomore from Chicago. He had a Purdue first down in his sights. Couldn't hold on. Now Degnan with his first punt of the game. Taken by Miller after 42. Bouncing off tacklers and across midfield down to the Purdue 49-yard line as a late flag comes down. That was only a 39-yard punt and a 7-yard Irish return. Let's check the penalty. This is a split crew today, Big East and Big Ten. And John Smith, the referee, signals an infraction against the Irish.
It was interesting last night. Of course, so much has been said and so much has been written about that Michigan tie. But at the pep rally last evening, I understand that Justin Hall was one of the speakers, and he made it very clear that at Notre Dame, we don't play for ties. We only play for the win. And apparently that got the biggest reaction all night long from the crowd.
First down.
So the penalty on the return by Notre Dame will put the ball back short of their 40-yard line. They'll have it with a 7-0 lead when we return to South Bend. The rain has picked up in intensity here at Notre Dame Stadium with the Irish taking over in a 7-0 lead. Pitching to Brooks. Big hole on the left side. Franklin on the tackle for the Boilermakers as Randy Brooks had a head of steam going before he was flipped end over end.
Tom, nothing fancy happening whatsoever. This is probably exactly what Lou Holtz wanted to get done, and that's just simply blowing the Boilermakers off the line of scrimmage. Football's easy to do that.
So far they have. They went over 70 yards, 76 yards on their first possession. Close to a first down at the 50-yard line. Tackled by Strickland and the Boilermakers. And the offensive line of Notre Dame continues to win the game.
We're going to see the weak side tackle come all the way around and get the corner for Reggie Brooks. That allowed him to go on down the field very close to the first down. Really, Notre Dame is just having their way. They're running a variety of different running plays, but they all seem to be working.
First down, football. It's a Notre Dame first down. So for Notre Dame, they have had 2 rushes and 1 pass. That was a screen pass to Bettis that was completed. Looked like they had a pass called on the opening play of the game, but it turned into a Meyer scramble.
One of the truisms of football is that if you don't have to pass, don't do it. And there has been no reason whatsoever here today to put the football in the air.
You say that. As the Purdue defense was ready for
Tackle by Bart Conley.
the tacklers for the Boilermakers from his free safety spot as he came up, as Meyer tried to turn up field and got him down before he could pitch.
And Meyer made a mistake. He had Lee Becton as his pitch man open. There was not anyone on the corner to get him. Perhaps he was upset by just a little bit by Don Delvey. He snuck out there and got in the way, but if he had been able to get it out to Becton, they would have had a big game.
How wet it is down on this bluegrass field. Complete to Dawson, and Lake Dawson has a Notre Dame first down.
Lake Dawson.
Yards for Dawson, the leading receiver, his 12th catch of the year.
One of the interesting things that we found out about Lake Dawson yesterday is he said when he got recruited at Notre Dame, he didn't know where it was. He thought it was in California. When he signed, he packed his flip-flops and his bathing suit, and he was ready to go to the beach. And he showed up here for their first winter without a coat, without any boots, and it wasn't too pleasant.
One thing we didn't find out was the origin of his first name, Lake. He said his grandfather's name was. That's how he got the name. He said he considered himself lucky. The grandfather of his brother named Joe.
Jimmy Young, a very talented defensive back. They think that he may well be one of the best 4 or 5 cornerbacks in the country. You see the pump fake that so many corners will bite on. Jimmy Young did not. Had 6 pass interceptions last season. Was a wide receiver in Fred Akers' run-and-shoot offense, but made the conversion to defensive back and is now considered one of the top corners in the country.
It was Jimmy Young that made the play. First team All-Big Ten a year ago, and the Sporting News ranked him the 4th best quarterback in college football this season. Hands away from a couple of tacklers to get down to the 35-yard line. Jeff Skinny makes the play. Now let's go to New York for a college football update with Dan Hicks. Dan? Dan, Penn State will be the final opponent here at home for the Irish of Notre Dame this season. Notre Dame already 102 yards total offense to Notre Dame. Meyer being chased. Got rid of it, floats it downfield, intended for Miller, and it's broken up by Jimmy Young. Good position again by the All-American candidate Jimmy Young as Meyer forced to scramble and hung it up.
Yeah, but Jimmy Young was lucky on that one. He slipped, exactly what we talked about in the open. Jimmy Young slipped for just a moment, and with the way that Mike Miller runs, if that had been a drive football that Rick Meyer was throwing, I believe he would have been able to get it down in the end zone, and that would have been touchdown Irish.
4th down, and Hendrick is on to punt for the first time in the game. Well, it's Meyer. So Meyer comes in when they try to push punt. They try to get it out of bounds inside the 20. Callaway calls for the fair catch and takes it. nose tackle, Jim Flanagan.
That was just an outstanding football play by DuBose. You cannot play it any better than what he did. He took on the blocker, stood his ground, stood right in the hole, and made the tackle. That was as good a linebacker play as you will ever see.
DuBose looking at his wrist. The Notre Dame defensive players have that hard on their wrist, covered by the coaching, but two has the defensive call. Drops again. The second drop pass. Hill dropped this one. Malden dropped what would have been a first down reception on the first series. So two would-be first downs dropped by Purdue receivers.
They really have to take those gloves off. I mean, they just absolutely do. I've tried to play with those. I've tried to practice with them on when you get wet conditions, and it has just the opposite effect. They're very tacky under dry conditions, but when it gets wet, they get really slimy and they slide around on your hand. Almost all of the Purdue receivers have been on them on. It's going to be a disadvantage for them here today.
Last season, short of the first down, as the carry was by Mike Allstott, who was into the game, the freshman from Joliet, Illinois. So Purdue with two drop passes, which would have been first downs, forced to punt on its second possession of the game.
And Matt Pike not having much more luck today than he had last year against Notre Dame. Actually, he had more fumbles, 3, than he did completions, just 1. And Jim Flanagan said that he found out that day that football is not a recreational activity.
Logan punting to Miller. Chases Miller up to the 35. He gives ground trying to get to the outside. And then it's corralled around the 40 and taken out of bounds. 45-yard punt with a 5-yard return. Purdue goes on defense down 7.
40-yard line.
Notre Dame 7-0 over Purdue. 4:59 left in the opening quarter. Over the years, Purdue has been known as the cradle of quarterbacks. They've had some great ones, including Bob Greasy, who quarterbacked the Boilermakers from 64 to 66, a Hall of Famer. His only victory over the Irish was in 1965, a 25-21 Boilermaker victory in West Lafayette, in which Greasy completed 19 of 22 passes and 3 TDs. Matt Pike hoping to duplicate that upset of the Irish here today.
That come from behind more than 1966 made Purdue #1 in the nation for the first time as well.
ABC now, football commentator for ABC. Jerome Bettis does nothing on that handoff. Falls forward for a yard with Bart Conley wrapped around him and got some help from his teammates. They were ready for the dive handoff to Jerome Bettis. Well, Jerome Bettis weighs almost 250 pounds. In fact, when he stacks up against this Purdue defense, he weighs as much or more than the defensive lineman of Purdue. How do you stop a guy like Bettis, who told us he had some goals on paper that runs down before the season? Last year he tore him up after he scored 20 touchdowns and over 900 yards. I'm surprised even here. Here's Randy Brooks, the tailback. He got about 7 yards before he's twisted down by Scanita.
Tom, one of the things that Notre Dame is having great success with is that they have incredible line splits. Look how wide this is between their offensive line. That has really spread out the defense for Purdue and allowing Reggie Brooks to run through some awfully big holes.
3rd and 3. Jerome Bettis the fullback. Reggie Brooks the tailback. Reggie Brooks quickly almost down. He's into Purdue territory to the 46-yard line. Pat Johnson had a hold of his foot. Reggie Brooks arranges another Notre Dame first down.
When we talked to the Purdue coaching staff, they realized that these line splits were going to create a problem, but they thought they could have a lot of success by running different stunts and blitzes to try and shoot up in between those gaps and disrupt their running game. So far, it has been just exactly the opposite. It almost looks like Notre Dame has taken wider and wider splits.
At the 44-yard line by Scanita. John Dockery down on the sideline. Doc, what's got going down there?
You know, Tom, I heard you and Chris talking about the gloves, so I got a pair, and you can see I have them on, and the water does collect on there. The water kind of beads, and it gets very slippery, as Chris was saying. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if some of the guys do discard these slippery gloves. Certainly Purdue is having a hard time with them.
Have you seen anyone take them off yet?
Not yet. They're still wearing them. Guys are hesitant to change equipment in the middle of a game, so they are still wearing them. I'll keep an eye on them.
Close to the 40-yard line. And again, nothing fancy about the Notre Dame offense, just relying on good offensive line play to knock Purdue off the ball.
You know, Tom, and it's interesting, John was talking about the gloves. As I look on the field, not a single, Lee Becton has on some gloves, but all the other players are going without the gloves. I would imagine that Lou Holtz, a guy who doesn't like to even have tape around the shoes for these guys, have said, no, boys, we'll do it for you guys, especially in the rain.
And taken down by Jared Walker. It'll be close to a first down.
By Walker. I talked about the tape around the shoes, and Jerome Bettis is the perfect example. He's the one guy on this team that's allowed to have the tape on his shoes, and he said yesterday that if Lou Holtz had not allowed him to do that, he may well have gone to Michigan. And I said, come on, you got to be kidding. He said, I'm serious. If he didn't let me tape up my shoes, I think I was going to Michigan.
Coach Holtz's version is that when Jerome asked being recruited if he could do that at Notre Dame, Holtz said he didn't allow it. And Bettis said it was very important, so Holtz had another look at the film of that. To the outside. With a flag down, finally slips and falls inside the Purdue flag.
Looked like there may have been a hold on the outside. This is probably going to go against the Fighting Irish.
Holding called against the Irish.
Sees a holding call go against him, and they'll step it off against Notre Dame.
That man gets very upset by penalties, and it was interesting when he...
Going to run, hold by the offense. Repeat the down, first down.
When he talked about the Michigan loss and the fact that he accidentally let time run off the clock, he said that nobody feels worse about that than I do. And the reason that the rule slipped my mind was because I was so upset over the penalty. I should never allow myself to get that upset over penalties that it takes my focus off the game. But that was exactly what happened to me in that situation.
Meyer off the hands of Griggs and incomplete. The pass a little too tall for Meyer. Griggs had plenty of room.
As I said, if Ray Griggs was wearing gloves, he probably would have had that football. Doesn't look like it's making a lot of difference, but Ray Griggs is a young man that made his first start last week versus Michigan State. Had a big afternoon under dry conditions. So 3 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to get a chance to come dry his hands now.
Griggs out, replaced by Mike Miller. This is the 8th play of the Notre Dame drive. It's 2nd and 20. Almost had a head of steam before he was tripped up by Bart Conley. Let's go to Dan Hicks now for a college football update.
With a diving interception. Let's see if he held on to the football or not. Boy, there was nobody. I'll tell you what.
That's an interception.
That is an interception.
That is indeed an interception. The ball didn't come loose until he'd hit the turf.
Looks like Rick Meyer is going to punt it once again. I wonder if Rick Hendrick has such a good punting average. He has to punt these little 30-yarders.
So Meyer is in on 4th down to punt. Notre Dame took the opening kickoff and scored, but have been stymied since, though they've racked up a lot of yards. Callaway, the deep man, watches Meyer's pooch punt. Take a great Notre Dame bounce and down at the 9-yard line. Meyer's got that down to a fine science, doesn't he? Meyer doing a little bit of everything today. His second good punt, which backs Purdue up. They started their first 2 drives on the 13. This time they'll start from the 9-yard line. Hope you'll join us for NFL football coming up tomorrow. It's doubleheader week on NBC. It all starts with NFL Live at 12:30. And many of you will see the NFL's highest scoring team, the Buffalo Bills, take on the New England Patriots. New England beat them at Foxborough last year. Others will see John Elway and the Broncos square off against the Browns. Second half of the doubleheader, it'll be the Steelers against the Packers. The Steelers unbeaten. Others will see the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Doubleheader week on NBC tomorrow. Doesn't get much. It's obvious Purdue is not going to be able to run on this Notre Dame defense so far. They've had some open passes, but been unable to hold on. They've only had 10 yards total offense here in the first quarter, in which they've operated exclusively inside their own 20.
Yeah, and Jim Coletto, the first thing that he told me was that if we're going to stay competitive in this game, we can't go 3 and out, and so far that's exactly what they've done.
So a frustrating first quarter for Jim Coletto and the Boilermakers, who have spent the entire first period backed up in their own territory and trailed Notre Dame 7-0. Chris Collinsworth, the 102nd consecutive sack at Notre Dame Stadium. This is the opening play of the second quarter. Notre Dame leading Purdue 7-0. Boilermakers from their own 8-yard line. Rolling and delivering, almost intercepted. Broken up.
His brother Eric is a big Notre Dame fan. I said, well, who will you be cheering for in this one? He said, not exactly sure, but we'll find out after the ball game. But that was a great play by Tom Carter. He just gave no ground whatsoever. They told us that he played the best football game ever last week against Michigan State.
Big 3rd and 11 play here for Purdue. They don't have a first down in the game yet. This one after for Price colliding, covering Callaway, and Carter and Covington with Notre Dame incomplete. And Purdue and do not have a first down.
Callaway's not the biggest guy on the football field, only about 5'8". Tom Carter is going to easily outjump him. And what we're seeing right now is that Matt Pike is really having a problem throwing this wet football. Everything has been floating so far, so it has been a problem to try and get the ball down the field for Matt Pike.
Pulling from his own end zone. Fair catch called and taken at about the 41-yard line of Purdue. And great field position coming up for the Irish of Notre Dame. Well, we talked about Matt Pike's brother Eric. Who will they cheer for today? He's with our John Godfrey.
And you can see, Tom, there's mixed messages. The Pike button on the hat and the Notre Dame across the chest. What is it? Your brother's playing quarterback for Purdue. Who are you rooting for?
Well, I'm an Irish fan, but I'm also a quarterback fan for Purdue. So I got to cheer for my brother.
How did you become an Irish fan?
Well, when I was growing up in Huntington, my friend, his 2 brothers were going to Notre Dame, and I just kind of fell into it. And then my dad took me out here.
All right, he pitches to Becton, and Lee Becton is out of bounds at about the 16-yard line of Purdue as Meyer runs the option, and Scanina able to check down Becton after a 22-yard gain.
Well, I said earlier that Rick Meyer blew an option play. This time he runs it to perfection. Nice block by Jerome Bettis on the outside, and you see Jimmy Young now being the option man, if you will, and Lee Becton taking it on down the sideline. You could not run an option play better than that.
Took down a man on the sideline as well. I'm glad Doctor Eric Pike were not in the middle of that melee. We'll get back to it in a minute to finish the story. Thrown back. And let's go back to John Godfrey.
So, Eric, you're just telling you how you became an Irish fan as a youngster. Well, who are you pulling for here today?
Well, I want to see Notre Dame do well, but I also want to see my brother do well. So I hope it's pretty close. I don't know, maybe a tie. I don't think people like that, but I don't know.
A tie, that's a dirty word around here. Tom, Chris?
All right, Doc, do not say tie around us. My gosh, all the controversy.
Especially around Doctor. He's been crazy on the sideline.
scoreboard. This team is cheering for it. Here's Marlon rolling. Looking to pass. He lost it and throws it away right into the middle of the band, where a band member makes a great catch.
I think they're in the tuba.
Let's go to Dan Hicks now in New York for another update. All right, Danny, here it's Notre Dame leading Purdue 7-0, 13:47 left in the opening half. Notre Dame driving again with the ball at the 15-yard line. Behind the intended receiver, late Dawson. Dawson broke inside. It looked like Meyer was expecting him to break outside.
I really believe what happened was it was supposed to be an inside hook kind of a route and then fade it back to the outside, but you'll see Lake Dawson just slip on the wet grass. And Jimmy Young is having an outstanding football game so far. He's done a better job than have the Notre Dame receivers of keeping their feet.
Myers hit 3 of 9 passes, 50 yards. He's hit on only one of his last 7. And Hendrick is on for a 31-yard field goal. Hendrick misses the field goal. One of the best kickers in college football. Now it's only 204 in the field goal department this season after that 31-yard miss. Looked like his footing was good. Hendrick just missed it. Wide right. Still 7-0. Long afternoon for Matt Pike, the Purdue quarterback, had yet to complete a pass, and this was his last attempt. It was off the helmet of Elvin Caldwell, his right guard, who was blocking.
It's what happens sometimes when those offensive linemen get pushed right back into the quarterback. And now Matt Pike may come out of the ballgame. That may sound like a tragedy, but there is a pretty exciting player waiting in the wings, who led the Big Ten in total offense last year, but it looks like it'll still be Matt Pike.
Brian Hamilton of Notre Dame was putting the pressure on him that last series. This is the best field position in the game so far from Purdue. Their own 20. Hill has just not been able to get on track all day. The Notre Dame defense swarming all over it with Bryant Young leading the charge that time. And then Hamilton coming up, number 90, to put the finishing touches on.
The game is taking place in Purdue's backfield. They're trying all these different sort of games with their offensive line to pull them around. But all Notre Dame is doing is just splitting the gaps, getting upfield, and they're completely disrupting Jim Coletto's offense. They haven't found anything that has worked so far. The intended receiver, no good. Callaway hit it, but on the first bounce, and Pike is now 0 for 5 in the game. I don't know if his thumb is bothering him or not, but he has not been delivering the football. You'll see this one's going to short hop as well. He really has not thrown a sharp, crisp pass yet, and you may now have to consider the alternative, which is Eric Hunter, their backup quarterback, who's coming off of arthroscopic surgery. They think that he's ready to go, and Jim Coletto said, don't be surprised to see him in there. Who's football? Still no signal. They say down, no fumble. You see the emphatic motion from the official. Ball down, no fumble. It'll be 4th down Purdue. He wanted to let everybody know that ball was down, right here, shut up. I don't want to hear it. This is where it is. And we thank him for it. You see Demetrius DuBose. He's going to come up, trying to get a feel. He makes the right shoestring tackle. That is a fumble. That is a fumble. No instant replay in college football or professional football. Thank goodness for that. But that was a mistake. Jenkins punts, called for a fair catch and taken by Notre Dame. It was a 32-yard punt. And Lake Dawson makes the fair catch. And so again, Notre Dame winning the battle of field position. Purdue has been backed up the entire game and still held without a first down, while Notre Dame and Rick Meyer have amassed 9 first downs so far, but only a 7-0 game.
Big game coming up here at Notre Dame Stadium next week as Bill Walsh, who called the games from the booth for NBC last year, returns on the sideline for the Stanford Cardinal as they take on the Irish of Notre Dame next Saturday.
Blue 61!
Up the middle, carrying tacklers with it for 3 or 4 yards. Eric Beatty again making the stop for Purdue as Matt Pike confers with the coaches upstairs about what could work for the Purdue offense. Doc, you have any ideas?
Yeah, the Purdue offense, you see that Matt Pike is on the phone upstairs. He came off the field. I don't think there's any change in the quarterback in the works at the moment because Jim Coletto talked to him. They exchanged a few words. He's on the phone to the coordinator now. He will be back at quarterback for Purdue.
All right, Doc. Reggie Brooks surrounded and taken down after no gain, maybe a yard on the play. As the Purdue defense stiffens on this possession, and actually Purdue defense has given up some yards, but only allowing 7 points on the opening drive of the game. Jeff Scanina, who was victimized on that 76-yard opening Notre Dame drive, has come on to make some good plays in recent minutes.
Yeah, and he is an outstanding football player. 6'2", 270. Bench presses 475 pounds, runs a 4.85. He can play.
Meyer just throws it at the feet of Bettis, probably intentionally because Bettis was surrounded by Purdue defenders. It'll be 4th down coming up for Notre Dame.
They were successful earlier with the screen pass, but that time Purdue read it well. They were right out there, and no chance for Rick Meyer. He made the smart play and just threw it away. But let's give some credit now to this Purdue defense. Their offense has put them in an absolutely horrible position all day long. It seems like they've been inside their own zone for this entire football game, and they've only given up 7 points. Great job by Purdue's defense.
This will be the first punt of the day for Craig Hendrick, who saw Rick Meyer come on for the short punts. Purdue, apparently with not enough players on the field, will take a timeout. So Purdue will have the ball when we return to Notre Dame Stadium. Irish up 7-0. Purdue trailing Notre Dame 7-0 in the second quarter. Boilermaker coach Jim Coletto played here at Notre Dame Stadium twice when he was at UCLA. He said the first time he came here, he didn't want to be in awe. He was determined as they got ready to run out on the field not to look at any of the Notre Dame players. But finally, temptation got the best of him. He sneaked a peek next door, and all he could see was the bottom of one of those Notre Dame players. He said, that was the play. Deepest yet. It's down at the 1-yard line. Hendrick did the trick, got the good roll, and it went for 51 yards. The Irish surrounded it, and once again, Purdue backed up in the shadow of its own goal.
Now, Matt Pike is probably saying, Eric, would you like your shot? Come on in the game. You want to take it from the one against this defense? So far, Purdue has been absolutely stopped offensively. Jeff Hill, their leading rusher, who's run for 100 yards each of the past 2 weeks, has 5 rushes for 1 yard, and throwing the football, Matt Pike is 1 for 6 for 8 yards. This has been a dismal effort offensively, but a great showing by Notre Dame's defense.
Starting drive on their own 11 here in the first half. Looking for some room, takes it just shy of the 4-yard line. Brian Hamilton, who's getting a lot of playing time today, one of the defensive tackle spots that plays at Julian Holden, is credited with the stop. The Irish are without Junior Bryant at that defensive tackle spot today. He has an edge.
And Jeff Hill just tripled his yardage with that 3-yard run. Head coach Jim Coletto said that we don't have anyone who plays as hard on every down as Jeff Hill does.
Houston Mulder, the fullback, once again,
They're really making a mistake. Notre Dame is just too big and too strong. You'll see they're trying to pull tackles and guards across the line of scrimmage, the old counter tray play that the Washington Redskins run so well. But when you're playing against a team that gets the kind of penetration that Notre Dame does, you can't run that. You have to just attack them head on.
The Notre Dame score with that last carry was a loss on the play, and it's 3rd and 10 from the Purdue 1-yard line. Good idea. And Purdue calls a timeout, and Mike will come over to talk to Coach Coletto.
You know what they should do every time they should quit kicking? Drive back some kind of a shotgun and try to get them confused. Because trying to punt the football from your own 1-yard line, that is a major problem. If you punt it on 4th down, you'll probably get a little more time simply because they won't know whether or not you're going to fake and exactly what you're going to do, so you won't get the heavy pass rush.
3rd and 10 from their own 1, Purdue. From Hill and incomplete. Down, it could be interference.
Yep, good call. It was indeed pass interference. And that's about the best that Jim Coletto could hope for. You see it right down the middle of the field. Jeff Hill. And just before it got there, Jeff Burris did nick him. And, you know, one of the problems that Jeff Burris is having, he's having problems trying to keep his feet, as was Jeff Hill. They're kind of sliding around, bumping into each other. I don't think that it's fully intentional, but you really don't have the kind of control of your body that you would like to have. I would really like to see the Purdue offense now try and do some kind of a trick route, a hesitate and go, an out and up, something. Try to take advantage of this wet field, because right now Tom Carter and the defensive backs, Jeff Morris of Notre Dame, they're really attacking the wide receivers at Purdue. They need to do something to back them up a little.
Initial first down of the game for the Boilermakers comes on the interference penalty. They have the ball now for 16. Hill squirts free to the 20-yard line. Got about 4 yards, one of his better carries of the day.
Jeff Hill.
And that's the first time they've been able to work this cross-blocking scheme for any success whatsoever. You're going to see from the end zone now that they'll just pull the guards across here, block down, and that's the first time we've seen that work all day.
Another 3 yards before he's tracked down and tackled from behind. And let's check in now for a college football update with Dan Hicks. Thanks, Dan. As you see the fans covering up with the rain, it's been a steady rainfall all afternoon. A big 3rd and 3 for the Boilermakers. Down 7-0. Completes the pass to Coleman. Earl Coleman has a first down. He's to the 31-yard line. Picked up by Tom Carter. And again, the Purdue receiver wide open. We've seen that several times today. Often the ball hasn't been delivered or the receiver can't hold on, but that one clicked.
Just the old naked bootleg. They're going to make the counter tray again. Nice job there by David Bratton getting out in front of it and allowing Matt Pike to dump the football. That's the first legitimate first down that they've had. Of course, they got the one on the pass interference call, but that is their first down by themselves.
Remember, this drive started at the Purdue 1. Tipped up and falls forward for a couple of yards. McGill wrapped up his ankles. There's Jeff Hill, whose brother Ed is a wide receiver for West Virginia University. They talk on the phone every Sunday, rehash the week's game. He's from Cincinnati, his brother, and he played together at Mount Healthy High School. Jeff was the quarterback, and his brother Ed was a wide receiver for 3 years at Mount Healthy. I asked him about if he followed the Bengals when he was growing up in Cincinnati. He said, yeah, he did, but they always thought that Steve Largent was a much better wide receiver than the Bengals' hometown coach. That's a direct shot. Wide open Hill, who makes a sensational catch inside Notre Dame territory. Hill went upstairs to pull it down at the Irish 41-yard line, a gain of 27. work around him.
McDonald.
You're going to see from the end zone, DuBose really tries a guessing game here. He's going to shoot inside, but the tackle will stay with him and make the play. Yeah, let's see if I can get rid of this thing.
Yeah, there you go.
I am having problems with this little machine.
You got it now.
DuBose just jumped inside and tried to make a great play and ended up giving up a few yards.
So DuBose said he wanted to do about 2 games before he was back to full speed in his tackling form and his concentration. This is his second game this season. Got to the outside and got across the 40-yard line before he was tackled by DuBose. Adolphus Demetrius DuBose.
Says he has a split personality. Adolphus is the total intellectual. And the Demetrius is more the hangout guy. But the person we're seeing here this afternoon, he likes to call the dog. The dog just goes and gets people. It's the mad dog.
So when it's football time, the mad dog comes out. Wasn't picked off. He had 2 receivers right together.
Pass was intended for Jermaine
Ross was closest to it, but there were a lot of Irish defenders around the field.
Greg Lane was just absolutely all over Ross. Greg Lane really in a better position to catch this football than was Jermaine Ross. And everybody talks about Greg Lane so far in the 2 games that we've seen.
Get out!
And with another punch. This is his 5th punt of the game. Fair catch called at the 14-yard line by Burris. And so a hold on the Irish deep in their own territory with 4:40 left in the half. Purdue and Notre Dame averaging a combined 72 points a game and put up only 7 today, but Jim Coletto of Purdue must be pretty happy, and his defensive coordinator, Mo Ankney, has done a pretty good job other than the initial drive of the game.
You're exactly right. Rick Meyer now 1 for his last 8 passes, just 3 for 10 on the day for 50 yards, and Mo Ankney really can't ask for any more than what his defense is doing here this afternoon.
So Meyer now tries to rally the Irish before halftime, 4:40 left. Changing the play. Nothing there. Stop for a loss. Bart Conley from a linebacker position got penetration and pulled down Brooks for a loss on the play.
For Bart Conley, he's making his first start here this afternoon. Right in the middle of your screen is Bart Conley, and he's going to make a big play. This is the first start. Matt Kingsbury is coming off of a very poor performance, and that's what gave Conley the start.
Conley's dad, Pat, was a Purdue linebacker in the 64, 65, and 66 season. Went to the Rose Bowl in 67. Brooks again, same result. This time, Eric Beatty from the other linebacker spot in on the stop. And the wet Purdue fans have something to cheer about as Holt sends in a 3rd down play.
And now we're starting to see exactly what Mo Ankney was talking about. They're still taking the wide splits are the Fighting Irish, but now Purdue is starting to get some penetration. They're getting up there and causing problems in the backfield of the Fighting Irish. Mo Ankney's game plan is working to perfection after that first drive. And that's exactly what we talked about earlier, Tom. The pump fakes on this wet field. Watch at the top of the field, just a quick little out move. He's going to bite on it, and it's off to the races now for Lake Dawson. Watch Mo Ankney's reaction. He knew that that had to be pulling muscles there. But that's always a concern when you're playing on a wet field. Out routes, stop and go. That's a very dangerous passage.
Rips off 8. Thomas Dennis Adams holding on to the nearly 250-pound fullback Bettis for dear life. Managed to get him to the turf.
And what makes that last play so demoralizing for Jim Coletto and his Purdue Boilermakers is the fact that it was a 3rd and 13. They had really played awfully well back in their own zone, and that gets them out of a hole and now down to the 35-yard line.
2.5 minutes remaining in the first half from Notre Dame Stadium. Averett Irish leading Purdue 7-0. Finally, Bettis looked like he was going to go down, and his knee did touch. His knee did touch back initially. Washell was fighting with Bettis, and he went down to one knee, and it'll be marked down there.
Watch the linebacker come shooting through and jump right over the top. That's Eric Beatty, and he's really the one that disrupted the whole play. And because Bettis didn't even know what that was. He said, wait a minute now, what is that flying by me in midair? And that was Eric Beatty. He was the Sports Illustrated National Defensive Player of the Week after the California game. Of course, their big upset. He had 20 tackles in that game, 17 tackles last week against Toledo.
Pounding straight ahead, and it'll be close to the first down. Scanita and Bettis, two big-time players colliding there, and Holtz calling for the timeout as the clock continues to roll.
But he probably shouldn't here because of the fact they're going to take a measurement. I don't think they're going to charge a timeout. Yes, they will. Now it'll be interesting to see if they actually have to come out and measure the ball, because Lou would have gotten a free timeout had they had to do that. It was almost one of those situations he could have asked for.
Check it out when we return. While we were away, the measurement showed Notre Dame that much short of the first down, so on 4th down now the Irish go for it. Keeps the legs pounding and I believe has the first down. His defense got penetration. They hit and stood Bettis up, but he that's the reason some publications consider Jerome Bettis to be the best player in college football. They're going to measure here, so the stop is not exactly by Scanita. And they also will be called for. This Purdue defense, if they made the play, but looked to me like they were the first down. First down. It's hard to stop Bettis when you only need half a yard.
And Tom, we're to a big moment in this football game. If they can keep Notre Dame off of the board and go in at halftime with a 7-0 deficit, they'll have a real opportunity. That will be an emotional charge for this Purdue defense. Then it's taken down after an 8-yard gain at about the 25-yard line. Now stopping the clock with 56 seconds left. That was a very strange route down the field. Everyone just took off on streak patterns. Rick Meyer probably coming back to home. Now, wait a minute, where was the guy that was supposed to be underneath? There was nobody really looking for the football. And that's one of the great assets of having those moments. But now they're back to the horse. Jerome Bettis, he is truly outstanding football players. We asked him the other day, said, everybody on the defense is looking for you. Can you feel that? He said, yeah, I can feel it right here in my hip. That's what I can feel.
Bettis is a bowler dating back to the time when he was a youth, when his dad used to take them on family outings to the bowling alley. He kind of resembled a bowling ball when he was rolling. A lot of pins dropped too. Hendrick had his string of 130 straight broken earlier after the procedure. Extra point from about the 15-yard line. That's no difference. It's good. And Hendrick has a new string underway.
Let's talk about the offensive line as well. Lindsey's Knapp and somebody on that left side. And you score a touchdown without getting touched. You have to go back and get those offensive linemen on the map, because that was a tremendous help. I don't mind people stepping over fighter song. I better check those out.
Voted the best college fight song in America. The victory march. Hendrick's kick to the end zone where Ross throws it out. Maybe shouldn't have done that. He stopped at the 15-yard line and hit hard there by a lot of blue shirts. As you check some of the other scores in this Saturday in college football.
Tom, I used to return kickoffs in college, and there is nothing worse than being a kickoff returner in a blowout. Because you feel like that every other play you're out there having to run those things back, and the special teamers from the Fighting Irish, this is their moment to shine. They're ripping down there, and your guys are a little bit down.
DuBose made a pass at it, and then Tony Simmons, the tight end, couldn't hold it. It seemed to go right through his hands. Is that a case where your concentration is broken to the man moving in front of you as Hunter looks on?
I really think more than anything right now, you're just seeing a team that's having a problem hanging on to the football, both throwing it with Matt Pike and Eric Hunter, the gentleman that you see there, and catching it. Purdue has had some opportunities offensively in this game to make something happen, but they haven't been able to come up with the big catch from the very beginning.
Williams seems to have slacked off. It's just sort of a heavy mist hanging over the field. That'll be interference, though. A call against Greg Lane, who hit Rodney Dennis a little early.
Greg Lane has been close all day. We have not seen a game in which he has just been beaten cleanly on a play. And as you see Lou Holt say, well, just wait a second before you dive on the ball. He says, it's wet, draining. I've got half a cold anyway. Don't make me stay out here any longer than I have to. Let's keep this clock running.
I think he'll stay warm. That incessant pacing up and down the sidelines will keep Lou's energy going. The field's starting to get a little chewed up now. Chunks of grass coming off, especially in the center of the field.
You know, Lou Holtz was a guard in high school. He played guard at 5'6", 132-pound guard. He said he was so skinny that his thigh pads wouldn't stay up, so he had to tape them to his legs. Lenny Dawson, a friend of mine and Hall of Fame quarterback of the Chiefs and also from Purdue, said that I can't believe that I played on a team that was beaten by the team that Lou Holtz played guard.
During his playing career. Not to happen today, however, as Coleman carries and is slammed down by Anthony Peterson.
Lenny did say, though, that they came back and beat him in basketball. And when I mentioned that to Lou yesterday, he went crazy. He said, oh, no, they didn't. No, they did not. And I said, well, Lou, do you play basketball? And he said, well, I was like the 6th or 7th man. I didn't get a whole lot of playing time at 5'6", but we whipped him, believe me.
For the Boilermakers, the ball sails out of bounds as McDonald was collapsing on Matt Pike, and from desperation he sent it flying in the direction of Coleman. The ball sails out of bounds.
Devon McDonald came all the way around the end that time, and Matt Pike barely got rid of it, and then he's going to pitch it to the cameraman. Harley Connor's ducked. I don't really want that ball. That's
Connor's ducked. He didn't want it at all.
Man's no fool.
24 yards for this high-powered Notre Dame offense. Only 100 for Purdue, the best defensive showing this season.
There's again. Devon McDonald was the MVP in the Northwestern game, having 7 tackles and 3 sacks there. He is the brother. Watch him coming from the outside on the far right-hand side of your screen. He is the brother of Ricardo McDonald, a very talented rookie linebacker now starting for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Part of the game for Daniel Purdue. It'll be the Irish ball back at the 47 after a 30 36-yard punt. Degnan's leg getting a little tired by now. Notre Dame in control. Notre Dame, despite a poor afternoon passing by and Griggs with a first down catch all the way down to the Purdue 35-yard line. John Dockery with an Irish great from the pass, the recent pass.
The recent pass is right, and it's Derek Brown, former Irish tight end, and now #1 draft choice with the New York Giants. And Derek, as you watch the game, you told me you had some of the best games against Purdue.
Yes, as I recall, I believe the last one I had 4 receptions for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Why is that? Well, the tight end, which is not often a big part of the Irish offense. Why big games against Purdue?
Because usually they play on man-to-man defense, and what we would do, our package was we had a lot of crossing, a lot of like body picks, I guess, and tight ends were able to get open.
Today they're doing it a little differently. The defense looks a little different.
Yeah, it looks like they're in zone, a lot of zone defense, which kind of makes it hard to run.
recent past is right. And it's Derek Brown, former Irish tight end, and now #1 draft choice with the New York Giants. And Derek, as you watch the game, you told me you had some of the best games against Purdue.
Yes, as I recall, I believe the last one I had 4 receptions for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Why is that? Why the tight end, which is not often a big part of the Irish offense, why big games against Purdue?
Because usually they play a man-to-man defense, and what we would do, our package was we had a lot of crossing, a lot of like body picks, I guess, and tight ends were able to get open.
Today they're doing it a little differently. The defense looks a little different.
Yeah, it looks like they're in zone. A lot of zone defense, which kind of makes it hard to run man-to-man routes against the zone. But, however, we are up 28-0. That's what counts.
I have to ask you this question. The production from the tight end position, you average about 15 passes a year. As a guy who wanted to catch the ball?
Well, yes, I was satisfied because even though I only had 15 catches a year, I was still one of the winningest class in the history of Notre Dame, so that's what counts.
Why isn't the tight end more a part of the offense, or do you sense it's more of a part of the offense as you watch the new Lou Holtz throwing the ball more?
Well, actually, we are a big part of the offense, except instead of catching the ball, we're blocking.
What's the big difference in the pros?
The mental aspect and probably the speed and size of the guys.
Well, good luck to you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, Donald, Derek was the weekend off since the Giants had the bye week. And despite the absence of Derek in the Notre Dame lineup, the Irish now have scored 19 touchdowns in their 4 games, and they're driving for another.
And it's interesting that Derek, even after leaving Notre Dame, still will not second-guess the offense. Oh, yeah, 15 passes in a whole year. Oh, I was thrilled with it. That was exactly how many I hoped I would get. And Irv Smith, if you ask him, he'd say the same thing. Oh, no, I'd really rather run block than catch the football, no question about it.
84 is Irv Smith, Brown's replacement at tight end. They said for years Derek was the #1 tight end. Behind Derek. There's Jerome Bettis with another tackle-breaking run. Irv Smith poised to have a pretty good season of his own, though he hasn't caught a pass today. Has 6 receptions on the season, and he said with Derek moving on to the NFL, he thought this was his season to shine. He hopes to be in the pros a year from now.
Yeah, he's a little disappointed, though, that the backup tight end, Oscar McBride, has all the touchdown catches down on the end zone. Like Rick Myers suggested that maybe McBride and Smith change places before they get in the goal line.
Well, the only one that can stop Bettis is his own man. That time, Todd Norman, number 66 in the Irish blue, knocks Bettis down.
Now, Todd's got about 3 tackles today, if I can check the stats on that, but he's doing a pretty good job. They're happy to have him back there. He had the injury early on. Now he's back in one of their better offensive linemen. Well, I tell you, this is a powerful offense. When you think about it, they've scored on with the option plays. They're throwing the football well. They've got Jerome Bettis and Reggie Brooks, a great tight end in Irv Smith. If their defense continues to play the way that they have this afternoon, this is a really dangerous football team.
It's the balance in the offense that makes them so hard to defend. They have so many weapons. And as we said earlier, Meyer hasn't had a good day passing, and yet they've amassed 28 points and now 19 touchdowns in not quite 4 games.
Yeah.
That's a delayed penalty against Notre Dame.
You know, one of the interesting things that we talked about yesterday with Jerome Bettis was, I asked him, did you ever consider coming out after the great sophomore year that you had last year? And he gave me the standard, no way, I was coming back at all times, I was never going to leave. And Demetrius DuBose was sitting across the room, and he said, tell the truth, come on, tell the truth. So, I don't know, maybe Jerome did consider
talking Lou Holtz before the season started this year about the decision at the NBC schedule. Brooks winding his way for a touchdown.
Good all-you-can-eat place, and he's having a little trouble with his diet.
Hendricks' extra point is good. There's Reggie Brooks, who now scored 2 touchdowns today and amassed 125 yards in rushing. Brooks had a 63-yard touchdown. This one has scored 2 touchdowns. Points for Irish. Purdue will take over at its 20, 35-0, and the Irish salt this one away for their 3rd win of the season with a big game coming up next week.
Purdue at the 20.
Last year, Bill Walsh was with Dick Enberg at Notre Dame, broadcasting the games for NBC. Now he's Stanford University's new coach, maybe second-guessing some of his comments from a year ago.
I know that Lou Holtz wants to run the ball for all kinds of reasons, but against Navy, if you really wanted to go after him, you'd just start throwing down after down.
That's nonsense. They're playing us with 4 linebackers. I've heard that nonsense all year long. We're going to do whatever we have to do to win. I don't care what anybody else has to say. We'll coach this football team. We'll do it the best way we can.
That one should be interesting next week. Bill Walsh against Lou Holtz. Stanford against Notre Dame. And some of those second guesses could come back to haunt him.
He wasn't real thrilled with us either after our first broadcast. So I know what Bill must have gone through last season. As a matter of fact, when Lou walked into that meeting with us yesterday, his first comment was, well, maybe I should ask the questions today. You guys seem to have all the answers after your first broadcast.
You guys, I think he was talking to you.
I said, well, what about Sean Docker? He's the guy down there banging on the sideline snatch.
There's the first teamers on the field despite the 35-0 score. Hunter back at quarterback. And right now this is the one-off. As he's caught from behind and taken down at about the 26 or 27-yard line. Greg Lane on the tackle. The other scores. Ivy League action.
For Notre Dame fans, the exciting aspect of this game has to be the play of the defense. So there's never been any real question about the Notre Dame offense and their talent, but there has been about this defense. And don't forget, Purdue has an excellent offense, averaging about 30 points a game coming in, knocking off the scoring over 40 points against them. So this has been an outstanding performance for Notre Dame's defense.
To this contest, and blank thus far. The last Notre Dame shutout was 38-0 over Navy here last season. In fact, that win over Navy was the last Notre Dame home win. They then lost their final home game last year to Tennessee and tied Michigan in their first home game this year.
And don't forget that DuBose did not play in those first 2 games. We have seen a marked improvement for Notre Dame's defense since he has come back. He says that he just loves the game of football. Man, he broke down in tears just 10 minutes before the Michigan game because he couldn't stand up there on the field.
There's a premature movement by Purdue. I think it might have been Elvin Caldwell that we called for the procedure. You know, Caldwell has to be playing with a heavy heart today. Elvin Sr. passed away on Tuesday of this week.
Good ball. Ball soft on the offense. Repeat the down.
And though the Caldwells were from the Cleveland area, Shaker Heights, Ohio, they had roots back here to the northern Indiana area, and his dad, Elvin Caldwell Sr., buried here in the South Bend area yesterday. He attended the funeral that took the field for Notre Dame yesterday. perhaps for an interception. That would have been 6, no question. Intended for Lewis Schmeichel. And again, DuBose not quite there, perhaps, on the timing.
Yeah, but, you know, the funny thing about him is he has maintained his sense of humor about the 2-game suspension. And he said, you know, nothing's sacred around football players. They gave me 2 or 3 days, and I didn't have to take any ribbing or they weren't poking fun at me because of the suspension. But with your teammates, you know, eventually they're going to come back to get you. I was standing over on the sideline, a couple of them came by and said, well, can I borrow $10? I know you got a little extra money in your pocket.
But you know that the regulars are glad to see him off that scout team. They've been facing in practice. Good protection for Hunter. And a diving catch made. Nice reception by Rodney Dennis, the senior from Hammond, Indiana. His 4th catch of the season. It goes for 20 yards and a Purdue first down to midfield.
And that hurts. I've had that happen to me on more than one occasion where you have to dive for the football. Usually I drop it and then land on it, but he caught it and then landed right on top of it, and you see he's trying to catch his breath on the sideline.
You think Hunter will be the quarterback of choice for the Boilermakers now?
I think so. He just he brings a little bit more to the table. You know, his ability to scramble, and with the problems they've had pass protecting, they really need somebody that can get outside the pocket. And he's a little more adept at that.
Can't quite get free. Dragged down from behind by John Covington inside the Notre Dame 20-yard line. A 31-yard gain for Earl Coleman. And that'll bring the 3rd quarter to a close. Notre Dame leading 35-0. We'll be back to Notre Dame Stadium after these messages from your local station.
Did you see that? He did. He was bowling in his house. Evidently, some rich guy. He had vases set up. It was bowling right through them.
This is the original wave as the fans help direct the 18-12 overture, always here at Notre Dame Stadium between the 3rd and 4th quarters.
Yeah, you've got to be in shape to watch football games and baseball games anymore. It seems like they're doing this all over the place. Kind of that tomahawk elbow you get. I think could be a problem eventually.
Audience participation, you can't miss a cue.
They see if Eric Hunter can get them on the board. They definitely don't want to be shut out by their cross-state rivals.
He grabbed it. Notre Dame, John Covington with his 2nd interception of the season. The celebration was worse than the play.
That's one of those. He looked a little like Joe Montana on that throw to Dwight Clark, but not quite the same result. Matter of fact, I saw Dwight Clark earlier in the stadium. Now, of course, working in the management for the San Francisco 49ers. He was here to scout some of these players, and he ripped off a few names. And I said, well, what about Jerome Bettis? Are you not looking at him? And he said, well, he's a junior. I'm not allowed to say that I'm looking at him. It's too bad. That was their best opportunity to get on the board.
Rushed for 270 yards.
What a football player.
Extra point is good. And remember, he didn't just do it against an outman Purdue defense. He did it against Michigan. Was back in 1983 when a great one, Alan Pinkett, had 217 yards against Penn State. Elliott Campbell, Mr. Stats, Johnny on the spot with that one.
And believe it or not, Reggie Brooks started as a quarterback on this team. He played defense, had 3 starts at corner, but said he got tired of chasing those wide receivers all over the place.
Professional variety coming your way on NBC tomorrow, starting at 12:30 with the Emmy Award-winning NFL Live show. Then a variety of games coming your way. Some of you will see Buffalo heavily favored over New England, but remember the Patriots beat them in Foxborough last year. Denver trying to regroup from the loss to Philadelphia takes on Cleveland. Who's the quarterback going to be this week? San Diego, Houston. Then the doubleheader game, either surprising Pittsburgh, Miami, Seattle, or the Jets. Pike throws it with 3 defenders around the intended receiver. Keeping Dan Hicks busy today. What do you got for us now, Dan? Let's go back to New York. Some things I have been called. Chiefly from hanging around you, I might add. Arlie Connors with a first down run, a nice one, twisting and turning across the 40-yard line.
Yeah, Tommy, that was some kind of run, wasn't it?
Yeah, all right, Chrissy.
I can't help what he's got left on the bench. There's nothing better than sitting on the bench talking about a 42-minute game. You can't help but think, what's Bill Walsh thinking about as he watches this ball game this afternoon?
You think he's watching?
He may have turned it off by now, but this is by far the most impressive performance to date by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Of course, next week is when Bill Walsh has his date with Lou Holtz as he returns to the stadium from which he broadcast a year ago.
And that's why Lou has that scowl on his face. He remembers. Believe me, he remembers everything that Bill Walsh had to say about him and his offense and how he doesn't throw the ball enough. We'll find out next week.
Preparations for the Stanford Cardinal dangerous team. That'll be performance today. Granted, they were pretty heavily favored. But an impressive performance by the Irish. Certainly, you have to consider them right back in the national championship hunt. They'll go to 3-0-1.
I think that Rick is now going for the shutout. Here we are, 13:34 left in the fourth quarter, and those starters are still in the game. Not one single starter has come out. I think Rick likes the idea of taking a little heat off of this defense. They may play it for 4 quarters.
intercept, but Schmeichel was open, and the pass by Pike was too long.
And Schmeichel shows his intelligence here. He reaches out with one arm, keeps the other one closely tucked to those ribs, because here's where you can die if you're a wide receiver. An overthrown ball over the middle.
And Burris had dead aim on him too, didn't he?
Yeah, that's one of those where you, as a receiver, you're like, yeah, go ahead and go for the interception there. Leave my ribs alone.
One of those alligator arms that didn't reach out very far.
Clever play. You're going to take the snap, play it out there, kind of an option pitch. That's an intelligent play. You hate to take an incomplete pass as one of your highlights, but that was really a sharp play. Watch this. It's pressure from right up the middle. He's dead to rights. Anthony Peterson chasing him. He just flips it out of there. Incomplete pass, good play.
You know it's a bad day when you have to pick side on your helmet.
And replace the dip.
Surrounded and down. 37-yard punt and a 15-yard return. It's been all day.
Mike Miller on the return.
Well, Rick Meyer not with Heisman numbers today, but the scoreboard a different story as it shows the Irish ahead 42-0. Kevin McDougal Brooks and company 359 yards. Kevin McDougal is a Kevin McDougal on his first snap cuts it upfield for a nice run. Pat Johnson finally made the tackle. Rick Meyer saying that despite the tie with Michigan, which disappointed him greatly, that the national championship still within his sights. That's why he turned down the NFL and a chance to go hardship, turn pro early. He's been very aggressive in talking to his teammates, correcting them when they make a mistake or don't work hard enough. He does intend to go out and win the championship. As 12-yard carry. This past Thursday night, Rick Meyer and one of the backup quarterbacks, Paul Fela, had eaten dinner at Coach Tom Clement's house, and as they returned, they sat in the parking lot for about a half hour. And Meyer emphasizing the fact that he wants that national championship. The tie didn't end those hopes. He was still dedicated to bringing it here to South Bend.
And he said, I can't believe everybody keeps telling me how impressed they are with me because I'm not greedy. He said, I am greedy. He said, I want the national championship, I want the shot at the Heisman, and then I want the cash. I definitely like money. He still wants to get paid eventually for this game.
Meyer, who will graduate 35 classes and will have his degree before the new year, said he's just going to hang out next year. Ray Zellers on the carry, the sophomore from Pittsburgh, and there's Meyer, who said he went to summer school for 3 summers. He deserves a chance to hang out when this semester and this football season is over. He will have his degree and will have a chance to ponder those bucks that will come his way after the NFL draft.
We asked him about the Michigan tie, which has been so talked about. And he said, you know, it's just so difficult when you're playing with a tie. It's so much different than playing from behind when you can go forward, or playing with the lead when you have to be conservative, because you do have something to protect, even though it's not really what you want to do.
Fumble, but it was down. That'll be no fumble as Zellers has another carry, and Don Delvey gets credit for the tackle. Dan, you got something else for us? Give us another college football update from New York. All right, Dan. Pop Warner football down in Ernle, North Carolina. Went over 70 yards for a touchdown on his first play of organized football. I liked it when you asked him, what'd you do on the second play? He said, it wasn't much. It was just about a 50-yard.
The Vance Burrow Steelers, but it didn't stop there for this young man. His junior year of high school, 1,700 yards, 27 touchdowns. His senior year, 2,000 yards, 32 touchdowns. He said the best game that he ever had in high school, though, he had 8 carries for 150 yards and 5 touchdowns against Pender High School in North Carolina.
And over 5,000 rushing yards in his high school career and an incredible 87. Lytle, who gets a carry. He's also a North Carolinian from Brevard, North Carolina.
Lytle.
Only the 3rd carry of the season for Lytle, who was a defensive end last year. Now the backup, or one of them, to Jerome Bettis.
Getting back to that Michigan game for a minute, one of the things that we really didn't realize at the end of that ball game was that Lou Holtz simply made a mistake in not realizing that the clock would start after that penalty. And he freely admits it now that he made a mistake in the ball game, and he got caught up and got really upset the fact that they had the penalty on the 2nd down play where they picked up the 1st down. But the ironic part about that is I think most Notre Dame fans would almost prefer to think that Lou Holtz made a mistake and blew it in effect, rather than the idea that their coach was somehow some ultra-conservative guy that wasn't really trying to go for the win. I think that might come up in our meeting next week.
And Notre Dame just pounding it out now against that weary Purdue defense. What's on the horizon for Purdue? They had the great upset of Cal in their opening game, 41-14. They had 38 points by halftime, then lost to Toledo. Came in here with expectations of not perhaps winning or upsetting the Irish, but Scanina and company hoping that they would at least be respectable. What do you think this performance does to Purdue?
Well, it's awfully tough to bounce back when you've been trounced like this, especially on national television. Toledo and the ball club are just so high after that.
McDonald with a score. Trots into the end zone. You know, he is a world-class bicycle motocross runner. Looked like he was on the back that time as he just zipped into the end zone. The steam has been taken out of the motor. The defense
These option plays just giving Purdue fits all day long. They're just going to get in behind. They're really not faking to the back. There's Dean Lytle, the fullback. They're using him as a blocker. It's really kind of a clever scheme. Rather than making some token fake to the fullback to try and hold people in, they're sending him around the corner, and that's allowing them to have a lead back to side back. And that's why you're seeing the quarterbacks being so effective on that option play.
Pendergast is on for the extra point as the flag flies. He's Hendrick's backup and also a key player on the Notre Dame soccer team.
Last couple of weeks. Last week he had the 38-yard touchdown pass to Derek Maves. He comes back with a touchdown run. They say that he is the best combination passer runner that they probably have, other than Rick Meyer, of course. They have another backup quarterback, Paul Fela.
We have illegal procedure. Not enough men on the line of scrimmage. Kicking team. Retry the try.
One of the few mistakes they've made today, but Fela is more of the pure passer type, and McDougal is the better combination guy. Fela being a baseball player and a good one. He had 292 this year as a freshman, was named MCC Newcomer of the Year on the baseball team.
The red kick is no good. Notre Dame score drive, 77 yards, 9 plays. Got McDougal with 20 yards.
And so the score remains 48. With producer David Michaels, director Andy Rosenberg, this is Tom Hamill with Chris Collinsworth and John Dockery. Witness to another Irish offensive onslaught today. Holtz's team has 48 points.
And he's not happy. He's not happy. They missed an extra point. He's mad.
That'll be Ross from the 12. The Irish rushing attack today has amassed 436 yards and scored 7 touchdowns. In case you're wondering, the Irish rushing record for a single game occurred back in 1931, 629 yards against Green.
DuBose is probably wondering if he can start fair catching those kickoffs. We've been running up in the middle of the pack and getting knocked around all day. Oh, boy. I played in a game once like this in college. Alabama just beat us to death. And all you do as an offensive player, sit on the bench, wait for the scoreboard to click again, and then go grab your helmet and get back in the game.
Purdue will take the field against Northwestern next week, so the competition in the first Big Ten game this season for the Boilermakers will be a little easier. And of course, we told you that Jim Coletto had played twice in this Notre Dame stadium as a member of the UCLA Bruins. And in fact, had an interception.
Like one of those things you drop a quarter in the machine and you turn the crank and watch.
Picks it back up and is buried.
Jim Coletto, though, is a guy that has a good sense of humor. He was telling me, I was asking him about some of his freshmen and exactly what all they, what's it like to have to coach those guys. He was telling me the story. I wouldn't give you the name of the kid, though. One of his freshmen were late to practice when they were getting ready to play cows the Friday before the game and make some changes. So I don't know exactly what this...
It's the sun for a moment.
They have plenty to cheer about now. One more thing.
Michael, 23-yard gain. There's a flag down, however.
There's a flag downfield, however.
There we go. There it's against Notre Dame, so that one will count. Nice job getting his knee down. Didn't exactly get his toe down, got his knee down. Good catch.
One inbounds is all you need.
Look at Lou. Lou's still mad. Look. He's up 48-0, and now he's arguing the sideline call. He said, Mr. Referee, can I please talk to you for just a minute? I've just got one thing to say to you. Will you please watch the out of bounds? I know you can barely see him here on the sideline, but he was clearly out of
A 15-yard penalty is tagged on to the completion. First down.
Calls a timeout with 7:01 left, and he'll go over the top to Coach Jim Coletto. Well, the Boilermakers trying for perhaps their last chance to get something on the board. Has his finger on the pulse of this Notre Dame team.
A little massage treatment, and he's got one teammate there, and wants to make sure that he doesn't leave anybody, not satisfied. A little hug, that's nice. Now come down, work over. Somebody, Doctor, where are you? John, get over there, get a massage. What do you think you want? What are you saying? Go ahead, John, go ahead, get a little massage.
Brooks is the man that has rushed for 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards today. No wonder he's in a good mood. That rig of deck is caught at the 1-yard line.
Hey, John, after the way you worked over Holtz the last time around, he may massage the other side of your neck.
Jermaine Ross, the man that made that catch. Minter's defense about to lose its shutout.
That's not what they want to have happen. They are fired up. As you see, look at this. They're sending the first team back in. They put the first team back in the ball game preserve this shutout. Rick Miller saying the heck with this.
The proper people on the field. So Colts last week sent the first teamers back in as Michigan State mounted a bit of a rally, even though the game appeared out of reach. And he is not happy with his second defensive unit. They're getting a lecture and have been taken out of the game with Purdue all the way down the lane.
A little drama here now. It's 6:46 to go. And the number one defensive unit of Notre Dame, Purdue out of Kansas. And I would imagine that Purdue will go for it down, so they may well preserve the shutout. First down at the 2-yard line. It's fired up. You see the towel there? That's when you're a skinny guy, and I can say that because I'm a skinny guy. You put a coat on, and then you put the towel around your neck inside the coat. It gives you a little bump. I used to do that.
You know all these tricks.
Yeah, you know, when the television cameras would come around and I'd wrap that towel around you and put it underneath your coat. You look like a football player then.
Some of us don't need that extra padding.
Well, you got most of yours around your waistline, so it's not gonna... Across the plane. Let's see. Number 5, Arlie Connors, giving his body up. I don't know. The guy's willing to do a flip for a touchdown in a 48-0 game. I think.
Notre Dame might have recovered the fumble, at least the players think so. Last season in the game against Notre Dame, Matt Pike fumbled 3 exchanges from center, and look at this. Purdue assistant coaches have studiously avoided mentioning to Notre Dame snaps from center against Notre Dame last year. And on the best score opportunity of the day for the Boilermakers, that's exactly what happened.
If you go back home, at least you can say you scored a touchdown. First down and 1. And you go back to them not giving up. The referee's not giving Arlie Connors the touchdown on the play that he flipped over the top. And that pipe obviously disappointed. This has been a tough afternoon for him.
Purdue has its second defensive unit on the
Watch. If we can get another shot of this, number 7. Team Lytle, the fullback, the backup. That's the amazing thing about this offense. They've got guys that are playing behind the starters that are every bit as good as most of the players in the country. He just absolutely buried a linebacker with a block. Boy, is he a tough kid.
Stafford.
ripped down after he picked up the first down. And he's happy about it. Sophomore out of Bartlett, Illinois, Charles Stafford. He didn't play all of last season. The former high school All-American quarterback out of Illinois. And also played wide receiver, cornerback, and safety. A good basketball player as well, getting his chance here against Purdue.
You sit over on that bench long enough, and it's a happy moment when you finally get to go play in front of this guy.
Irish at 13.
Back to the line of scrimmage. It's 48-0, and if that stands, that would equal the biggest margin of victories for Notre Dame over Purdue. 1970, they won 48-0.
Stafford's no fool. You see him with 2 hands on the football. The one thing that you don't want to do in this situation when you get a little playing time is fumble the football away. The Purdue sideline, obviously a tough day. It's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing on national television to go through this kind of a game, especially when the program is taking some steps in the right direction. And they are. Purdue's been a better team, came up with that big win over Cal. Coach Jim Coletto showed me all the mail that he got after that win over Cal. It was really kind of shocked the nation because of the way that they blew him out. He said, I still haven't gotten around to it. What about after you got beat by Toledo? He said, he said, I didn't open that mail. Here's Jeff Scanina.
Scanina's grandmother, Rose Adamski, is in the Mayo Clinic. Broken hip and wrist. He wanted to send her his best wishes. Jeff Scanina, an Outland and Lombardi Trophy candidate who is a former hockey right winger. Name, that unusual spelling, it's a Polish name, as we said his grandparents coming from Poland. He visualized hitting Rick Meyer and Meyer coughing up the football and Scanina scooping it up and scoring a touchdown. He took the opening kickoff score. Purdue held their own the rest of the half until just before halftime. And a long third down pass from Meyer to Lake Dawson sort of broke the back of the Boilermakers. Callaway returns that punt 9 yards. Scanina and the Boilermakers thinking about Northwestern next week. Purdue's football in Irish territory. Play action. And incomplete. Well, here's a guy Newt Rockne would love. Jeff Scanina of Purdue. Just looks like an old-time footballer. High tops, taped ankles, pads under the knee pads. A little bit of a gut. Look at that scowl on his face. Now, is that a football player or what?
He looks like he's been shaving since he's about 8 years old. Wasn't real crazy about shaking his hand. Boy, he is a big guy and a good football player. I really just feel like that he got neutralized to some degree by this wet field. Again, by that Irish offensive line.
Pete Bursich with the interception for Notre Dame. Bursich, who started when DuBose was suspended, had some problems chiefly in pass coverage. Now playing on the second team. Back in pass coverage there. Goes up high and gets some encouragement from DuBose after picking off the Matt Pike area.
Look at DuBose saying, now wait a minute, what kind of a catch is this? What? This is the best catch we've seen all day. Lays out, sticks his hands out, boom, just like glue. Great play. You got to be happy for a guy like Pete Bursich, who came in, did his job when Demetrius DuBose got that 2-game suspension. And he's a good football player. Don't mistake that. Last year, second on the team with 69 tackles, and that was only behind Demetrius DuBose.
Last year, Bursich and Jim Flanagan were roommates when they were competing for the same linebacker spot, and it got a little testy. They were roommates, and yet they never talked. This time, Flanagan has been in a fight at the nose tackle spot with Oliver Gibson for the starting job. And Johnson moved to the quarterback for Notre Dame. Certainly has paid his dues.
It's tough to have a roommate who's well talked to.
And now Matt Johnson is the 4th Irish quarterback. He has to take a timeout to get enough players, at least not the right ones, in the right spot. Gives us a chance to check back in with our Dan Hicks for another score.
Oh, boy.
Game over.
48-0 as the Irish have salted this one away. They will be 3-0-1. So the Irish started, of course, with Meyer. They've gone with McDougal, and now Johnson. from a not too happy Purdue defense.
They've got some guys in the game now that we don't even have on our chart. Let me see here. Let me see if we can pick out some of these backfield numbers. But what a thrill for these kids. They get a chance to get in, and there are only a few moments where the third and the fourth and the fifth string will get a chance to play here at Notre Dame Stadium. So great that Holtz is working in the ball game.
Doesn't get much. What about the tenacity of the Notre Dame fans sitting through the rainstorm and the cool temperatures all day? You think here late in the fourth quarter, 48-0, the stands would be deserted. So still quite a lot of folks.
What they wanted to do, they wanted to watch Coretta make his little Walter Payton invitation. He's dancing, moving, shucking.
You know, they could be sticking around for that closing game interview when Holtz and Dockery get together again. And is to the 25-yard line, and we have just over a minute left. If there was a big play in the game, I think it was late in the first half when Purdue had mounted their best drive of the day. They finally had to give the ball up, but they had Notre Dame backed up deep, and the Irish were facing a 3rd and 11. That's when Meyer went back to pass, made a pump fake. Lake Dawson was streaking down the sideline. The long completion put Notre Dame deep into Purdue territory, and they scored just before halftime, and that seemed to take all the wind out of the Boilermaker sails. Yeah, really, without that play, Purdue would have gone in at the half only down 7-0, and from there, really anything can happen, but Reggie Brooks just took over this game in the second half. Catch called and made at the 40-yard line by Callaway.
34 yards.
17 seconds left in the game. Hendricks saw his string of 130 straight conversions broken today. It wasn't his fault, really. A bad snap. The ball bouncing back to the holder. He got the kick away, but it was no good. So threatening the record. All out of his mind now after 130 and then a miss. Yeah, I think Lou Holtz, he's the only guy that's not happy today. 570 total yards, 458 of them on the ground. Chevrolet players of the game will be honored now. And from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, their outstanding tailback Reggie Brooks, who had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Bart Conley, who did a good job on the Purdue defense with 13 tackles, 5 of them unassisted for the Boilermakers today. In conjunction with this program, Chevrolet will contribute $2,000 to the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators for disbursement to deserving college students so that they may continue their education. Now, a quick check-in with John Dockery and Coach Holtz.
Coach, dominant win today. What does it mean to your team, especially your defense?
I thought defensively we really made a good week's preparation. They came and they played like we should on defense. Offensively, we sputtered a little bit, but the weather curtailed what we could do. It was just a nice win for our players.
How about next week, Stanford and Bill Walsh? Does he have an edge, having done the games for NBC last year?
You were there. We spent a lot of time with Bill Walsh, maybe 20 hours over the whole season, talking about philosophy and what we like to do offense and defense, but that's part of it. He's a great coach. That advantage he has will not matter. He's too great a coach to have that affect the game. He's a smart guy. We're going to have to regroup and come back.
Okay, Coach. Tom, back to you.
All right, Doc, should be interesting as Walsh and Holtz get together on NBC next Saturday afternoon. Again, our final score from Notre Dame Stadium, the Irish 48 and Purdue 0.